It was December when I saw him first, not at that coffee shop, but at my best friend's birthday party. I remember because I was trying to hide in the kitchen. Parties aren't really my thing. Too loud. Too many questions about my love life that I didn't want to answer. Then he walked in. I don't know how to describe it without sounding like one of those romance movies. He wasn't the most handsome guy there. His hair was a mess. He wore a vintage band t-shirt with a hole in the sleeve. But something about him. The way he moved through the room like he didn't belong there either. He was also trying to find the exit. Our eyes met across the room for like 2 seconds. That was it. It's 2 seconds. But I swear I saw something in his face. Recognition. Like he was looking at someone familiar in a crowded room. And for a moment, forgot where he was. My friend dragged me over 5 minutes later. This is Henry. He just moved to the city. Henry. Of course his name was Henry. He barely looked at me. Shook my hand. Said hey like I was anyone else. So why did my hand stay warm after he let go? The next time I saw him, I convinced myself. It was a coincidence. Coffee shop. Same one where everything would eventually fall apart. I was studying for the worst exam of my life, biochemistry, which I hated, and there he was, 3 tables away. Reading a book about photography, I stared at him for 15 minutes before he looked up. This time, his face changed. Oh, hey, he smiled. Actually smiled. Hey, felt like an idiot. Just, hey, that's all I had. He closed his book. You're from the party? Yeah, I'm the one who was hiding in the kitchen. He laughed. Real laugh, not fake. I was hiding on the patio. We talked for 3 hours that day. Skipped everything we were supposed to do. He told me about moving to the city for a photography job that was already falling apart. I told him about my pre-med nightmare and how I wasn't sure I wanted to be a doctor anyway. When we left the coffee shop, he said something I've replayed 1,000 times in my head. I feel like I've known you forever. I felt it too. That terrifying, perfect feeling where someone just gets you without explanation, without work. The next 3 months were a blur, not the kind you forget. The kind you remember so clearly it hurts. He'd come over. We'd put on music neither of us was really listening to. We'd just talk. About everything. About nothing. About how his parents didn't know he was gay. About how my family knew but didn't really acknowledge it. About how exhausting it was to exist in that space, half hidden, half living. One day he said once, lying on my floor at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling.
Nice.
One day we won't have to explain ourselves to anyone. I remember thinking, one day, with you. The first time he kissed me, we were watching the rain. Not even during a romantic moment, just standing at my window. And he turned to me and said, I'm terrified. Of what?
This.
You. How much I need. This. I kissed him before he could say anything else. By March, we were something neither of us could hide anymore. We weren't careful. Not because we were brave, we weren't. But because hiding him felt impossible. Impossible. Like asking me not to breathe. We'd study together at the library. He'd touch my shoulder and the feeling would sting. Not bad, but sharp. Dangerous. We'd get coffee at our spot, and he'd order the same thing every time. 1 vanilla latte, 1 black coffee. The barista started smiling when she saw us. Everything felt like it was building toward something permanent. That's when everything broke. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special about it. I came home from class, and he was already at my apartment. He had a key by then. This casual domesticity that made me believe in forever. But something was wrong. His face was gray. Not figuratively. Like all the color had literally drained out of him. What happened? My chest went tight. My father called. He was sitting on the edge of my bed, hand shaking. He's coming to visit. This weekend. Okay. ... I didn't understand. Why he looked like someone had told him he was dying. Can't know about this. He gestured between us. Can't know about you. He can note. Henry, you're scaring me. My parents have money. A lot of it. My trust fund. It's conditional. I get full access at 25, but there's this clause about. He stopped. Closed his eyes. Wait. about my personal choices needing to align with family values. I felt my stomach drop. "So what are you saying?" He didn't answer, just kept staring at his hands. That's when I knew. The next 4 days were the longest of my life. He didn't stay over. He was distant, careful. When I tried to touch him, he'd flinch, not because he didn't want me, because wanting me was becoming dangerous. On Friday, his father was coming. Henry said we should act like we barely knew each other. Texted through the weekend, said things like, "I need space to figure this out, and I can't think when I'm with you." I understood. I hated it, but I understood. Sunday morning, my phone rang. "No number. We're leaving," he said. No hello. No preamble. His voice was flat. "My father. He wants me to start fresh in California. New job, new everything. We leave in 2 hours." My entire body went numb. "Henry, I can't do this. Can't want something I can't have. And I can't have you. Not like this." His voice cracked. "So I'm going to stop." "What are you talking about? You can't just—" "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I know this is unfair. I know it's cowardly. But if I say goodbye, if I see your face..." He hung up. I drove to his apartment, ran up 4 flights of stairs like my life depended on it. Banged on the door, no answer. I sat in the hallway for 2 hours, just sat there, staring at his door, waiting for him to come out. He never did. The landlord found me eventually, said they'd already left that morning. Must have slipped out while I was sleeping. He left without saying goodbye. I don't even remember driving to the coffee shop that day. Just suddenly, I was there, ordering the same black coffee he used to order, sitting at a table that faced the door, a habit I'd never broken, and that's when I saw him. He walked in with a backpack, older, different. There was gray starting in his hair. His face had changed, sharper, harder, like life had carved something out of him and filled it with something else. He ordered vanilla latte. My heart stopped. He turned, scanning the room for a seat, and that's when our eyes met. His face went white, like he'd seen a ghost, like I was the ghost. He just stared. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but watch him realize that I was still here, still in the same city, still in the same coffee shop, still waiting. He didn't sit down. For a full minute, we just looked at each other. People walked between us. The espresso machine hissed. A baby cried somewhere in the corner. None of it mattered. Then he walked over. His hand was shaking when he pulled out the chair across from me. "Hi," he said. Just that. One word. Like he hadn't spent 7 years trying to erase me. Like he hadn't left in the middle of the night like I was something to escape from. "Henry." I couldn't even recognize my own voice. "What are you?" "Are you... ... I live here. I moved back 3 months ago." He ran his hand through his hair. Same gesture, same nervous habit. "I didn't think. I mean, I always knew there was a chance I'd see you, but you left." The words came out harder than I meant them to. You left without." "I know what I did." His eyes filled with tears and he looked away, jaw clenching. "I know exactly what I did. I couldn't do this. Not here. Not like this, in a public place where anyone could see me falling apart." I stood up. "Don't," he said quietly. "Please." "What do you want from me, Henry? An apology? An explanation? Because I've had 7 years to come up with explanations, and none of them make sense anymore." He looked at me then. Really looked at me. I could see it all in his face. The regret, the weight of it, the years he'd been carrying it. "I want to tell you why I left. The real reason, not the one I've told myself 1,000 times to justify being a coward. I didn't sit back down, but I didn't leave either. My father came to see me that weekend. Henry started, and he wasn't just visiting. He'd hired a private investigator. He knew about me, about us, and he had photos of us leaving the library. Together of ... our hands touching at the coffee shop. My stomach twisted. He sat me down and told me that if I didn't end it, he'd cut me off. No trust fund, no inheritance. And worse, he said he'd make sure I never worked in photography again. that he'd tell every client, every contact he had in the industry that I was unreliable, that I lied, that I was a liar. Henry wrapped his hands around his coffee. I was 22. I was so angry at the world, but I was also so scared. And he was offering California like it was a gift, fresh start, a new identity where nobody knew I'd been. In love, he said it like it was a curse word. So you just left me. I wasn't angry anymore. Just tired. Didn't give me a choice. Didn't even say goodbye. I couldn't say goodbye.
Face to face.
Because if I had, ... he looked up. If I'd looked at your face one more time, I wouldn't have gone. And I needed to survive. I was so young, and I told myself that surviving was more important than love. His voice broke. I've been in therapy for 6 years trying to figure out how I became that version of myself, how I chose money over the one person who actually saw me. What changed? I asked. Why come back now? My father died 2 years ago, heart attack. And suddenly all the conditions were gone. The trust fund, the expectations, the threats. It was all just ... over. Henry leaned back in his chair, and I realized that for the last 5 years, I'd been rebuilding my entire identity around freedom I didn't even know how to use. He picked up his latte but didn't drink it. I came back to California to say goodbye to it. All of it. The photography jobs I took to please him. Guys. Dated because they were acceptable. The version of myself that was just a hollow thing trying to keep his approval. And then you came back here, I said quietly. And then I came back here. I sold my business. Left everything. Came back to the city where I felt alive for the first time in my life. He paused. And every single day for 3 months, I drove past that coffee shop. And I told myself that if I ever saw you again, if you were even still in this city, ... double quotes, he trailed off. What? I whispered. I wouldn't run again. The next hour, we didn't leave that table. We talked about the years in between. He told me about California, about the boyfriend he dated for 4 years who looked good in photos but never really knew him. About the moment his father died and he realized he'd wasted so much time trying to prove something to a man who'd never actually loved him. I told him about my pre-med program I dropped after 2 years. About becoming a therapist instead. About the man I dated for 2 years who was kind but wasn't him. Do you remember what I said? Henry asked suddenly. That night on your floor? I did. I'd never forgotten. One day we won't have to explain ourselves to anyone. One day, he said. I thought that day was never coming. I'd sacrificed it for nothing. And now, he reached across the table. For the first time in 7 years, he touched my hand. Now I think maybe that day is today, if you want it to be. My chest felt like it was imploding. You can't just come back and expect me to. I know. I don't expect anything. I just ... Can I see you again? Tomorrow? Or the next day? Or never, if that's what you need. His eyes were sincere in a way I'd forgotten a person could be. I know I forfeited my right to ask, but I'm asking anyway. I should have said no. I should have protected myself. But instead, said yes. We started small. Dinners. Conversations. He told me everything that happened after he left. I told him everything I'd built without him. It was painful but necessary. Like cleaning a wound that had scabbed over wrong. A week passed. Then, too, he was different than before. Quieter. More thoughtful. There was a sadness in him that hadn't been there when he was 22, but there was also something stronger. Like he'd finally become the person he was supposed to be. One night, we were walking through the park, the same park where we used to sit on the grass and make plans about our future that never happened. I don't expect you to forgive me, Henry said. I've done a lot of reading about trauma and abandonment, and I know that what I did to you, ... it left a mark. You don't just get over something like that. No, I agreed. You don't. I also know that 7 years is a long time, that you might have moved on, might have built a life that doesn't have space for me in it. I stopped walking. Do you want to know what I've been doing in the coffee shop every Sunday for the last 5 years? He looked confused. Every Sunday, sitting at that table. The same table, just waiting. Not actively, not consciously. But part of me never stopped waiting for you to walk through that door. His face crumpled. And then you did. And I was so angry. So angry that I'd wasted 5 years waiting for someone who'd already made their choice. I felt tears sliding down my face. But Henry, I also didn't leave that coffee shop. Some part of me never actually left. He kissed me in the middle of the park, not like the first time, tentative, shocked, but like someone who'd been holding their breath for 7 years and was finally allowed to breathe. People walked by. Nobody cared. For the first time in my life, I didn't care either. Henry showed me the photos. He'd been photographing me without me knowing it. For months, there was one of me asleep on his couch, one of me reading at the coffee shop, morning light hitting my face just right. One of us through a window, holding hands, our shadows merging into one shape. I want to make a series, he said, about what it means to lose something and then find it again, about how broken things can come back together, but different. Better, maybe? Is that about us? I asked. It's about us, he confirmed. If you want it to be. I did, but here's the thing about coming back. It's not the same as never leaving. We moved in together, but there were ghosts in the apartment. Moments where I'd catch him looking at me with this expression of guilt so deep it was like staring into a hole. Times when I'd feel the old anger bubble up, not at who he was now, but at who he'd been then. We went to therapy together. A lot one session, our therapist asked me something I hadn't been able to answer before. What do you need from him to actually forgive him? I sat with that question for a long time. I need him to understand that he can't undo it, I finally said. That part of me will always be the person left behind in an apartment hallway, and I need him to be okay with that. I need him to want? Me, anyway. Henry held my hand during that session. He didn't let go. I do want you, he said quietly. I want all of you. The person I loved 7 years ago, and the person he became when I left. We're getting married next month, not because we've solved everything, not because the past doesn't matter anymore, but because we've decided that the future matters more. Sometimes I still see him asleep, and I'm shocked that he's actually there, that he's real and he stayed. Sometimes he looks at me with that same sadness in his eyes. I can see him blaming himself all over again, but we're learning to exist in that space. The space between betrayal and redemption. The space where love isn't simple or easy or Instagram perfect. It's just ... real. I woke up the night before our wedding and couldn't breathe. Not in the romantic, I'm so happy way. In the actual, something is very wrong way. Henry wasn't next. To me, I found him on the balcony smoking a cigarette he'd bummed off someone at a bar we'd gone to that evening. You don't smoke, I said. I do when I'm terrified, he replied, not looking at me. I should have been shocked. Our therapist would probably call this a red flag. But instead, I felt something settle in my chest. Relief, maybe, or recognition. About marrying me, I asked. He finally looked at me. What? About hurting you again? I'd been waiting for this moment. Not consciously, but I'd been waiting. Some part of me had always known this conversation was coming, the moment when he'd admit that he could still leave, that he was still capable of it. Come inside, I said. We sat on the bed, the same bed we'd made love on for the first time, 3 months into our second chance. He kept his hands clenched in his lap. I have the same fear, I told him. It's that you'll wake up one day and realize you made a mistake coming back? That I'm not worth the weight of your guilt? That's not it's okay, I continued. We can both be scared. We can both be the kind of people who are capable of leaving. The difference is that we're choosing not to. Every day. His voice was small. Every day, I confirmed. Till one day we're not scared anymore. Or until we're too old to remember why we were scared in the first place. He laughed, a little broken thing. Is that a proposal within a proposal? He asked. Yeah, I'm reproposing. Under the terms that we're both broken people who are choosing each other anyway, he kissed me then. And for the first time, it didn't feel like he was apologizing. My sister cried during the ceremony. Henry's sister, who hadn't known about me before, who he'd never even come out to because he was too busy running, she cried too. What I remember most isn't the vows. It's the moment the officiant asked if anyone objected. And there was this silence. Not an uncomfortable silence. peaceful one. Like the world was finally actually allowing this to happen. Henry's father was dead. My family had accepted me years ago. There was no one to object, no one to run from, so we just stayed. The photography exhibition opens next week. It's called The Space Between. 50 photographs of us, me more accurately, but they're really about absence. It's about the thing that was missing. About what it looks like when something lost comes home. The series starts with a photo of me at 22 young. Hopeful, completely unaware that my person was about to disappear. Then it jumps to me at 29, the year before he came back, darker. Somehow, even in photographs, then the pictures change. There's one of us at the coffee shop. Both of us pretending not to notice we're being photographed. There's one of me sleeping the night after we first kissed the second time. There's one of our hands in the car heading home from therapy. The exhibition ends with a photo of us in front of the building where we're moving next month. New city. New job for me. He's going to work freelance, finally doing photography for himself instead of for anyone else. A choice. We're making choices now. But here's the honest thing nobody tells you about. Second chance, they're not magic. They don't erase what happened. They don't make the past less real or the hurt less deep. We still have days where we don't talk much. Days where the weight of his leaving sits between us like a third person in the bed. I still get angry sometimes. I'll be doing something mundane, making coffee, folding clothes, and suddenly I'm 22 again, sitting in an apartment hallway, waiting for him to come home. And I'll turn to him with this rage in my chest that he doesn't deserve but still receives. And you know what he does? He holds it. He lets me feel it. He doesn't try to fix it or apologize away or move past it faster than I need to.